We're building a tiny whoop. Woo! Alright. So, the tiny whoop. If you are not familiar with a tiny whoop, it is essentially the easiest, most harmless way to get into FPV flying. You're going to take one of these little guys, tear it all apart, put some upgraded parts on there, and essentially, or most importantly, put the camera on there. Give us that FPV. So yeah, I guess to start off with, I'll run through the parts. We are going to be using, this is the Eachine E010, straight out of the box. We're going to be tearing this apart though. The only thing we're really using is the frame, because I've got some other props from another one that I've cut down to the 2 blades versus the 4, just because it's a little more efficient, get some longer flight times, it's easier on the motor and everything. So yeah, I'll be keeping the props, but we won't be using those specific ones. And next up, the motors, some SpinTech motors. These are not the fastest motors out there. There are some insane motors, but to start off with, I'm going with a couple steps below the fastest. Actually, it's probably just 1 step below the fastest. These are pretty solid. And I also like it because they give you 6 motors. You got the 2 extra in there. So if you bought 2 boxes of these, you would have 3 full sets of motors. So that's really nice. Camera, using the Crazy Pony camera. Comes with this little canopy, which is kind of nice. Gonna focus here. And then we've also got the whip antenna rather than the clover leaf, because these are a little more durable, and that's what we want. So we're gonna be crashing and flipping, bouncing off stuff. So that's the camera. Batteries, we got batteries straight from Tiny Whoop, and these are the high voltage, so give us a little extra power output, along with the bigger connector. I don't have another battery to compare it to, but I've got the leads, the 2 different leads. Get these out of here. So this is the connector for these guys, the bigger connector, compared to this little guy. So wires much larger, just gives you better juice, better flow, more power. I also got this guy, which is going to be used to fit into here, because these little skinny batteries, there's a lot of wiggle room. So we got that guy. And then we got the BeeBrain from Newbie Drone. This is the flight controller where all the magic happens. So yeah, comes with, you're able to hook it up to Beta Flight or Clean Flight, get all your tuning in, and yeah, it's the heart and soul, the brain. So I guess that's about everything. We'll go ahead and start tearing this guy apart. Just get it down to the frame. Whoops. So then, to start off, probably go ahead and desolder these motor wires. Get that stuff out of the way, and then we can just pull those out. Oh, do that. It'd actually help if I had some little tweezers. Alrighty, so I'm just going to be desoldering all of these little connections for the motors so we can pull them out. Pretty simple. Would be nice if this board was actually solid. Alright, so we got all those off. Bunch of our little braid wires here. And now we will be able to go ahead and just slide all these motors out. Alright, so we got all these out. Next, we just gotta pull the board on out. It's already so loose. But there's that. And there we go. So we'll go ahead and throw all this to the side. Oh. And here's a frame. This is what we want. Once you got the frame, we gotta make a couple little modifications to it. This front section right here, it's really hard to see on this bottom bit, is gonna have to come out. We gotta cut that off because the battery, you know, has to slide all the way through and it's blocking. And then the other thing is this whole, on the other end, right up in there, this whole piece is going to come out because it gets in the way of the USB port on the board once it's in here, like so. You can see, it's hard to tell, it's so dark, but it hits that piece right there, so that needs to be gone. And about that, you want to make sure you leave the, here's the one where I've already cut that whole section out. So make sure you leave this connection right here on the sides, because I feel like it gives it a little bit more support on the frame, but just take out the whole top piece so you have access going straight down in there. So we're gonna go ahead and do that real quick using an X-Acto, handy X-Acto. Move everything else out. So there we have it. And now for this front part, this guy. Let's do the same thing here. Alright, so there we go. Got the other little piece out. And now, just go back through, kind of clean some stuff up. Alright, and I don't know if I went over this guy earlier, but this guy will be just sliding into here. feed it through there. And it will sit just like that. Get it nice and snug. And this allows the battery to slide in there. Nice and solid, so there's no wiggle room. Which is exactly what we want. And this little foam piece weighs like practically nothing, so it's no big deal to add that in there. You're gonna have to add something. I mean, I guess you could just use rubber bands to keep this guy solid, but I like this foam piece, it's pretty cool. Now, moving on to a little bit of modification on the flight controller. Because we are using those bigger batteries, the controller comes with a small guy on there. So that's not gonna work out. I'm gonna have to desolder this lead and trim up this guy and solder him on there. We'll jump over and do that real quick. Alright, so we got it all soldered on here. A little focus happening. So here's the lead, the bigger guy, so we can hook up the battery now. And she's live. The other thing, as you can see, is that I soldered this little guy on here for the camera. Let me show you. Most people will solder the camera just by clipping off the plug and solder the wires directly on here. But I went ahead and did this just in case I want to switch out the camera or change the setup in any way. I don't have to worry about desoldering and soldering every time. You just plug and get her done. So yeah, that's that. Now to start installing it, I went ahead, I've already put these little, where's the other one? These little rubber things that come with the BeeBrain to absorb some vibration. I went ahead and stuck those guys on there. And now what you want to do is go ahead and wrap them around the little, see how it comes out a little bit? You want to get these guys on there nice and snug so that it doesn't wiggle around. It'll make getting the screws in there a lot easier. Alright, so now it's nice and snug. Just no screws yet, just from being whatever, smushed on there. Go ahead and do this. And for this front screw, the camera kind of gets in the way, so I'm gonna have to leave it dangling out. And go ahead and get the screw in there. Start screwing them in. Alright, so we got all the screws in, all solid. Go ahead and feed the camera through. Antenna. Camera is nice and snug. Go ahead and plug this guy in. Alright, so we got the camera plugged in. Just go ahead and tuck the wires away a little. Alright, go ahead and slip this in. Alright, so we got that in. So the battery's gonna slide on in now. So yeah, it's all good. And now, last but not least, go ahead and get the motors going. The motor direction for this BeeBrain, the flight controller, is gonna be counterclockwise and clockwise over here, and then it matches in the X pattern. So this one's also counter, this one's also clockwise. So we'll go ahead and start feeding this through. When you put these in, make sure you don't push on the pin, so it'll pop out the bottom of the motor and ruin it. Just get the sides. It's good for now, it doesn't have to be all the way in. Go ahead and plug this guy. Yeah, that is really tight. I'm gonna have to use a little tool here. There we go. Alright, so now we just gotta do the same thing all the way around. Alright, so we got all the motors in. Let's make sure they're all nice and snug. Alright, so motors are all down in there. Now we can go ahead and tuck these wires away. Because if you look down in here on this frame, there's this little hook right here. So we're gonna wrap these guys under there. Make it look a little bit nicer. Alright, so we got them all tucked in right here at the motors. Now we've got this little dangly bit. I'm going to go ahead and tuck it up under the battery right there. Alright, so now motor wires are looking a lot neater. Got them all tucked up underneath. And props. Time for the props. Remember this front right one was counterclockwise. So you gotta make sure you get the right props on there. Alright, so there's the props. She's finished. There it is, the tiny whoop. Go ahead and throw a battery in here. Let's see which way. It's gonna be better. No. There we go. Got power to the camera, that's good. Solid. Curious to see what it's gonna weigh in at. Can't see that. 27 grams. Yep, that's with the battery. So without the battery, it's gonna come in at about 21. 5.9 almost for the batteries. There it is, 21 and a quarter. Not too bad, not too bad. So that has been the build. I'm not gonna fly it here in this video, but I'll definitely be getting a flight video up. So be sure to hang out for that. Should be a lot to come with this little guy. Get some good videos in. So yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one, hopefully. Peace.